and gentlemen, welcome once again to the house that Warren Hayes built. Literally, actually, but you don't need to know about those kinds of details. Not yet. Not ever. Because they're not relevant to what we're here to do. This is the Warren Hayes Show. And we are going to be talking today about Evolution. WWE Evolution. WWE's first all-women pay-per-view. I think it's important to underscore that it's WWE's first. Isn't that right? Yeah, Harmony, who is joining me. Harmony, hi. Harmony is, she covers women's wrestling. I'd call you a freelance women's wrestling thinker. How about that?
Okay, I like that. Let's go with that.
Well, why don't you tell folks what you do, actually, because it actually translates into more concrete stuff than just that.
Well, I mean, the way you put it means people should pay me for thinking about women's wrestling, which I absolutely agree with. So I do like the title. What I actually do for money is I write for a few different websites. I write for Daily DDT. I've written opinion pieces for other places. I've written for some zines. And basically, I'm just a huge women's wrestling fan. I follow a lot of independent promotions. I love Shimmer. I actually went to the Shimmer taping in Berwyn, Illinois last weekend. It was a lot of fun. I love Pro Wrestling Eve. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with WWE and the way they handle women's wrestling. And I don't know. Actually, Warren, we haven't talked about this. Do you follow women's wrestling?
No.
I'm curious. Just not into it?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, I'm kidding.
To start this conversation.
That was all the time we had for the stream, folks. No.
Welcome to an hour of me cursing at Warren, everybody.
and you know what? I'd probably get great numbers for that. No, but quite honestly, most of the women's wrestling that I watch is contained within the NXT WWE bubble. A bit of Progress, basically WWE satellites. I'm familiar with women's promotions, Shimmer, Shine. Those are promotions that I'm aware of. But aside from maybe a few matches here and there, I'd be lying to you if I said, "Oh yeah, for sure." Like I know about Pro Wrestling Eve and stuff like that. But yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, that's where a lot of people are at with women's wrestling. And also Progress has a really good women's field. So
yeah. And they're draining into NXT UK, so I'm excited about that.
And they have the sharing arrangements, so they'll be able to keep wrestling for Progress and other promotions too.
Yes,
so.
Which is good, and that's positive. It's positive for wrestling in general, because you don't necessarily want WWE to gobble up everyone. Anyway, we might be getting a bit ahead of ourselves right now.
Oh, yeah, right.
But that's okay. You see, this is the kind of conversation we're going to have. It's going to be spontaneous and bubbly and popply. I want to thank everyone who's watching us right now live on the stream. I want to say shout outs to Wilfred, my buddy Wilfred from the Wilfred Watches podcast, who's in the chat right now, making sure everyone stays nice and polite. Jason Campbell, who's jumped in. This is fantastic. And Jason, we're going to do this for about an hour. Thanks for asking. Wilfred says, hello, Harmony. We are in for a treat.
Okay, no pressure.
Harmony. Okay, let's start talking about specifically to begin with before we start running down the card, because this is a prediction show, right?
Yeah.
And I always say whenever I do the prediction shows, one of the reasons and this is something sincere that I truly believe, I feel that most people get into talking about wrestling, writing about wrestling, podcasting about wrestling, just to do prediction shows for pay-per-views because they're a lot of fun. It's just fun to do. I really believe that that's 50% of the reasons why people actually start doing this. But before we actually get into the predictions, WWE Evolution is happening this Sunday with not with a sound of fire and fury, but more like a bit of a wet drizzle and a whimper.
It has a shrug.
Yeah, exactly. It hasn't been the most over produced promoted, sorry, pay-per-view that WWE has had in recent weeks. I was
Yeah.
going to say years, but we can even um how do you feel about that, Harmony? How do you think about what do you think about the way WWE has been promoting
I'm
Evolution?
honestly pretty frustrated with it. And I think that's a very common feeling among fans of women's wrestling. I think you writing Evolution on your whiteboard back there is more promotion than WWE has done for the entire event.
And I'm just going to jump in here. It's not a whiteboard, it's a Warren board. Mother always
Oh,
said branding is important, so it's the Warren board.
okay. I apologize. I won't misname your board again. It's very nice. But I mean, like, WWE has not promoted or built up Evolution at all. Like, when I was at the Shimmer taping last week, I was talking to other people who like wrestling, and most of them did not know Evolution was happening. They had no idea who was on the card. And that's really bad because WWE keeps talking about bringing new viewers into the fold. And people who will go out of their way to sit through 14 hours of women's wrestling in Berwyn are the kind of people they should be making an effort to reach. But, like, it kind of felt like they just declared that it was happening and that it was historic, and like that was enough. Like, they just promoted it enough and we should care. But like, there's been no storyline build up. There's like, I mean, you've got the Charlotte and Becky storyline going into it, which is relatively compelling, but it's not like that was created for Evolution. You've
And
got the battle.
no, I'm
Oh, sorry,
sorry.
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to and Kyrie Sane and Shayna Baszler, which has the history,
Yeah. But again, these are existing stories. There's
Right.
nothing new.
I agree.
And then you've got stuff like the Battle Royale, which just makes no sense on any level. And it's like, well, why should I give a fuck who wins this? Because it doesn't matter. Like, it's a
I,
bunch of matches that I'm excited about for the wrestlers because I like them. But boy, have they just whiffed the production on this in a
oh,
very disappointing way.
I'm really excited to talk Battle Royal. That'll be that. I can't wait to talk to you about that. And I care to remind you, Harmony. I'm not monetized, so we can curse all we want. The
Yes, it's going to happen. So I'm really relieved it's not going to be a problem.
but I'm still gonna try and be as positive as possible. That's something that I like to do. I don't want to just hate for hating's sake. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff wrong with this pay-per-view, despite there being like glimmers of hope. I wanted to say shimmer, but that would have been a terrible pun in the context. The
I'm not going to complain
personally,
about fun. But
but you're right. The fact that they don't give us any compelling reasons to care. They love to say first time ever, historic firsts, and recently they did a video package, one of the only video packages that they did for Evolution, where they recapped everything that happened since like Royal Rumble last year. Historic first Royal Rumble, historic first Elimination Chamber, historic first. Even went back to Charlotte and Sasha first, the first ever. Now
right.
we're at a first ever. To me, right now, Evolution feels like a just a marketing front. Like there's no substance to it, and the reason that there's no substance to it is because they book a division, they don't book women, right?
Yeah.
They like to book the women's division as a group of incredible athletes who have bucked the trends and are pushing forward. But in the context of an entertainment program or sports entertainment program, you need athletes, individuals, characters, wrestlers, whatever you want to call them, that we can get behind, that we feel
Yeah.
compelled to support. It's not the women's division we want to get behind. We'll naturally get behind the women's division if you can give us women to get behind. And when you think back to what they were doing in NXT with Charlotte, with Natalia, with Sasha, Bailey, Becky, and how over these women were, not because they were part of a division, but because they were putting on great fucking matches.
Yeah, and building great stories and characters around those
Yes.
matches. I mean, Bailey and Asuka's fight over the NXT belt It's one of the best plot lines I ever saw in NXT. It was fantastic.
It was amazing.
Asuka's undefeated streak, normally a long undefeated streak for a belt, is not an interesting story. I mean, who gives a fuck if Brock Lesnar keeps the belt for the next 6 years? I don't care. I'm tired of looking at him. I'm tired of having a Jimmy John salesman on my TV every week, but whatever. Um, okay, he makes billions of dollars. He should not have to still work for Jimmy John's. I have many questions about that. But anyway, like, Asuka's undefeated streak was such a good story, and the way it wrapped in other competitors in NXT was so compelling. Like the contrast between her and Ember Moon, where Asuka just became more and more desperate with each takeover to win and keep her belt, and you kept watching to see what would happen, and Ember Moon kept like being good and honorable and putting the emphasis on like I'm going to win this my way and I'm going to do it the right way. It was like, you know, echoes of what Sami Zayn had done with the belt earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like those compelling stories didn't come out because they were like, we have a women's division now. We got all this good talent. And you're going to watch it whether you like it or not. It was like, here are really good stories and really amazing athletes who can carry these stories. And that's why we cared about it.
Absolutely. And it's crazy how different they're booked from NXT up onto main. And that's the main dichotomy that I don't understand, and I've expounded on this before in other contexts. Yes, I've read my thesaurus today. Expounded.
Nice. Very fancy.
Thank you. But I've talked about this before. I don't understand the economics of building someone in NXT, then bringing them up on main and letting them flounder. NXT with the performance center right now is costs. It's nothing but cost. It's research and development for WWE. They're putting money into developing these wrestlers. So when you have Bayley, who I recently watched some old NXT stuff for some research that I was doing for another podcast, and I was looking at her matches. It's mind-boggling how over she was.
Oh, she's phenomenal.
As opposed to now where people are... And it's not that people don't like her. They're waiting for a reason to cheer for her because we saw the sparks of flame when she was feuding with Sasha, when she started punching her. People were up out of... They were excited. They were popping hard from their seats, up out of their seats. They were just waiting for a reason to like Bayley. So you put all this money into developing these wrestlers. You bring them up on main. It's supposed to be like a transition. You're supposed to meld into main, but with what you built in the minor leagues. But there's most of them just flounder. The ladies are just lost in a shuffle. It's like WWE can't handle giving more than 3 storylines at a time for the women.
I honestly think that they don't understand how to write for women, and they don't want to try. That's what it feels like.
I mean, that I no argument there. You just have to look back. You have to remember Bayley and Alexa Bliss. You know, when Bayley never kissed a boy. You know, when they wanted to do that angle. Had you heard about this?
Right. Yeah.
They never went through with it, thank God. But it's like, you know, Bayley was this awkward girl in high school, and they brought her old boyfriend and whatever, and they wanted to run an angle where, you know. They wanted to move the angle into territory where Bayley had never kissed a boy. And I was like, oh my God. It's so infuriating.
Hearing that, just like, my skin's crawling. Like the secondhand embarrassment for whoever came up with that plot line is harsh. I don't understand why WWE writers can't come up with stories that are just about women. It feels like they struggle to come up with stories that don't involve dudes on some level with their women's plot lines. Like what's happening with Candice LeRae. Like Candice went from being one of the most popular, well-loved, and incredibly talented indie female superstars in the world
and credible.
To Johnny Gargano's sad wife who can't take a bump on a ramp.
Right, exactly. And credible, right? Like her whole thing was Candice LeRae is tougher than you. That was her thing. She had it printed out on goddamn t-shirts, you know?
Which legit, it was an accurate t-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's tougher than me.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
But then again, Anthony Suter from Smart to Death is that's tougher than me as well. And that's not saying, oh, hey, he's in the chat. Oh, goodness. Oh, how you doing, Anthony? And welcome to Tim, who's dropping in at the for the first time as well. I'm so glad everyone's popping in. Fantastic. Hope you guys are enjoying the program. And we are going to start with our predictions now, Harmony.
Yes, get me focused, because I could just complain all day. Get me focused on good stuff, because there's good stuff here.
There is good stuff, and that's exactly what I was going to say. And we're actually going to start with some good stuff. We're going to start with the first match that's on WWE.com. It's going to be the Mae Young Classic Finals. Toni Storm versus Io Shirai. Yes, we're doing a lot of bitching, a lot of complaining, a lot of frustration. But you got to admit, Harmony, we're a little blessed for this match here.
Oh my gosh. So this is the one thing that WWE is doing correctly. They are getting some of the best talent in the world on their rosters and in for the Mae Young Classic. And the Mae Young Classic this year, by the way, I know we're not here to talk about that, but it was leaps and bounds ahead of where it was last year. I mean, I was really impressed by it this year. The research was on point. Like, the commentary team was fantastic. Renee and Beth have great chemistry. Michael Cole, I was kind of iffy on him, but I was totally sold on him. Like, he did his research. He did a great job. And the roster and the stories they told, it was so good. And having, Io and Toni as the climax, kind of bringing together WWE UK and NXT, putting them head to head. Also, coincidentally, having two of the best wrestlers in the entire world giving us a showcase at Evolution. Kick ass. Good call, guys.
Yes. I mean, the booking here is hard to fault. I, on the other hand, feel like the Mae Young Classic was a little more iffy as opposed to last year. I think it was on level.
Last year better?
I think they were on level. I won't say I didn't like last year's better. I feel that they were on level. It was consistent, but it's nothing that blew my mind. Maybe because I had these really high expectations because of the big names they had in. Caveat here. Let me get it so that you understand really well where I'm coming from. I didn't think Io Shirai had that spectacular a tournament. Toni Storm had a great tournament. Meiko Satomura stole the show the entire way.
Damn right.
I even thought Matsumoto, was that it?
Matsumoto, Lady Godzilla.
She was fantastic. Rhea Ripley was
very good.
I think she was. Those of us who were familiar with her work knew she was fantastic, but she was a revelation. She had some great matches. Caitlyn and Mia Yim's match for me was a highlight of the Mae Young Classic, and WWE should definitely give Caitlyn another look. But let's come back to our match here. I don't want to stretch too much out on the Mae Young Classic, but for me, as it stands, Toni Storm had a fantastic tournament. She had a great tournament. I think that Io's holding back. I think there's something she hasn't gone. She's not in upper tier mode right now. I know.
So
go ahead.
I do think with Io, we have to keep in mind she's coming from Stardom, and she's having to adjust her moveset. Also, WWE, they were worried about picking her up before she was up to be signed, and because she had neck issues, they decided not to. So I don't know what happens at the Performance Center, obviously, but
you don't.
I know, right? It's. Unfortunately, I don't have a direct line into the women's division there.
Well, this is all the time we had for the stream today, folks. God damn it.
I'm sorry. Anyway, from what I do know from how they train people and how cautious they can be, I think her moveset's limited right now. I also I've heard kind of from house shows that she's been adjusting to the ring. It's a little different. She was having trouble nailing her moonsault for a little while. Apparently that's been resolved. So I think she's working with a limited moveset, and there's just kind of a little bit of a learning curve for her. So I think
agree.
we're going to see her on that level. I just think maybe she's not there yet. Maybe putting her in the spotlight right away wasn't the best call, but also she's Io fucking Shirai, so I get why they did it.
See, that's it. I'm not worried about Io Shirai. You know what I mean? It's I'm not worried. Yeah. But for someone I'm familiar with her via bits and pieces of matches or full matches, guy, you have to look at this, you have to look at this, yeah. but I'd be lying if I said that I'm familiar with her entire body of work. But I am familiar enough to be able to say Io is going to be fine.
Oh, yeah.
But had I been someone completely new to Io Shirai, never have heard anything about her, coming into Mae Young Classic with all the hype, because they did do some, some good media, some media press around it as a big signing, NXT. I would have looked at her and said, I don't get it. I really would have said, I don't understand. Sign that Satomura lady. She's good. She's amazing. What about that Martinez chick?
Well, I would be over the moon if they signed Mercedes Martinez.
Are you
but,
kidding?
like,
That'd be crazy. You know what? I don't understand. Like, I understand that it's probably an age issue at this conjuncture. Maybe. Why don't they have her on as a trainer in NXT? She'd be great. Maybe she doesn't want to train, and that's another situation. But could you imagine her being in the PC? Well, I know does she train at the PC?
Well, she doesn't. Well, I think she's okay. So I don't know what she does at the PC, but she does train for Shimmer, and she does train for Rise, and she's
Right.
like active on the roster. But she also she has training experience. She's really good at it.
Of
so
course. No, but
she'd
the
be
point
like a
is
no-brainer hire.
Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she doesn't want to. Maybe she doesn't want to train in NXT. That's my point. Maybe she doesn't want the job. That's we as fans push things that we want to see, but we have to consider their individual career goals and things they want to do as well.
I mean,
Anyway.
what I know of Mercedes Martinez is that she loves Shimmer. She's very dedicated to it. She's got a great role there. I think she doesn't want to stop performing. And I think if it was a choice between training and performing, she's going to keep performing, and she's going to keep working with the promotions where she can do that.
Right.
Do I think NXT is being incredibly short-sighted by not snapping up one of the best wrestlers in the world with a ton of performance experience and putting them in like a Cassius Ohno position? Yeah. Not the choice I would make, but I don't work for WWE.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really.
Prediction show. So we need a prediction. Who do you think is coming out on top of here? Out on top of this match?
So I do agree with you. Toni has had the stronger showing in the tournament. Like, her matches have been better. I think she's stronger overall. I don't think she needs the win as bad as Io does. I mean, Toni is win or lose, she's coming out of this as the person who took out Meiko Satomura.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, honestly, that's a little better than winning the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah.
It's a little cooler. So I think it's going to be Io.
You think it's going to be Io?
I think Io's going to win.
Oh, yeah. No. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. No. That my brain just fizzed for a second. I agree with you for the exact same reasons. Toni Storm she's over. Crazy over. As it stands right now, she's bulletproof. She can take the loss. Like you said, winning, being able to say, I beat Meiko Satomura in a ring, that's a notch under your belt. And she's like, what, 23? That's bananas. And she's going to be a big part of NXT UK. And she has WWE superstar written all over her. So
totally.
She can take the loss here. Io's going to win, and I hope that they give them the time and the leg room to put on a barn burner, because we know they can do it. And if they don't do it, we're going to be pissed.
I'm going to be pissed.
All right.
Yeah, total side note, but if you want a nice preview of what this match might be like, Toni and Io wrestled in Shimmer a number of times, and all of those matches are barn burners. So you want to see them in action, track them down. Those matches are awesome.
Awesome. All right. Let's move on to our next match of the evening. It's going to be this thing.
Yep.
The Riot Squad taking on Sasha Bailey and Natalya, or the match that I'd like to call We Done Goofed.
We're sorry. Here's the wrestlers you like all at once, I guess.
There's not much to say about this match, to be perfectly honest.
I told you. Oh, sorry. Like, I told you my conspiracy theory about the women's belts, right?
Tell me the conspiracy about the women's belts. For
the
sake of the audience.
Okay. So I think we are getting this nonsensical match because we were going to have women's tag titles as a part of the Evolution program. I think that Sasha Banks suffering a concussion, like, which is an injury that WWE traditionally keeps under the radar,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think that derailed the plan, and that's why I think and Sasha is now in a trio with two well-regarded, very safe workers who will be helping her with the Riot Squad. I think they just had to kind of redo things on the fly, which is kind of a bummer because tag team like division build actually would have been a really good story to bring in Evolution. I'm not sure why they didn't just figure out another way to pull the trigger on that. Maybe they just didn't care. I don't know. But like,
Apparently, the belts the belts are designed.
yeah, they exist. And
They're
even Sasha has been like calling out on social media,
yeah.
like, yeah, they exist. As soon as you want to give them to us, we're ready, which is kind of funny to me. But
Well, wasn't that obvious though? That was the reason they put Sasha and Bailey together, and then
yeah,
suddenly the rumors for the women tag belts start popping up. But you know, WWE is weird because they did the same thing. Rumor has it that the belts are done. They were supposed to have tag team belts for 205 Live. And they had started putting tag teams together. They put Akira Tozawa and Hideo Itami together. They had paired Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick. Like they were starting to build teams. They already had Lucha House Party.
yeah.
They had and the belts are made. From all reports that I heard and from trusted sources, by the way, over at Fightful.com, and you can subscribe to FightfulSelect.com, premium service for $5 low dollars a month. You can have a bunch of extra podcasts, including my own 205 Live NXT recap show every Wednesday night that I do live. So, according to Sean over at Fightful, he says that he's been saying that the belts, the cruiserweight tag team title belts, they're in their cases. They're there. They're made. But
God, poor 205 Live, just having to look at those belts all the time.
anyway, but
That
we're not
sucks.
talking about the cruiserweights.
Sorry.
And I'm spitting now all over the.
You're just so passionate
I'm
about
so
the 205
passionate.
Live Cruiserweight belt.
The what's most disappointing about this match, because it's not going to be an awful match, but it's going to be a match that we've seen on Raw multiple times.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel special. We're still going to see Ruby Riott. We're going to see Bailey and Sasha. We're going to see some fantastic women in the ring. But to me, the greatest tragedy here is that they creative WWE just looked at the card at the build-up and they said, we have nothing for these women. And that's
Right.
what breaks my heart.
It's so upsetting. This match has so many good wrestlers in it. I mean, Bailey, Sasha, and Natalya is amazing. Ruby Riott is fantastic. These are really, really good wrestlers, and I've been a defender of the Riot Squad since it first showed up and started annoying everybody. I knew it was not everybody's favorite thing for a long time, but
No.
I love Ruby Riott. I liked the idea of having a plot line where you had women who were just there to kind of be disruptors and anarchy machines. I thought that was like a fun thing to introduce, but it's just sort of been sidelined into like, oh, we have 3 wrestlers and we don't know what to do with them, so I guess they're fighting the Riot Squad. Like,
Yeah, that's
that
it.
the whole anarchy angle kind of got dropped like a hot potato, and now it's just like, well, there's Ruby again.
But at least you know we're gonna get some good workers. It'll be fine. By the way, Big Virgil in the chat points out, he reminded us that WWE had also slightly began promoting a tag team Money in the Bank match. You remember that? They had like the Ascension do an iPhone promo at some point, and they had the initial poster where there were 3 briefcases, and then they dropped that idea as well. So but you know,
Cool.
the legend has it that Vince McMahon hates tag team wrestling. So as long as Vince doesn't like tag team wrestling, I think it's even going to affect the ladies apparently. Who do you have winning this match, Harmony?
I have so I think because it's Evolution and the idea is to be positive, I think it's going to be Sasha and Bailey and Natalya. They're fan favorites. They're super over. They're faces right now. The Riot Squad basically just functions to get beat up in exciting ways at this point. So I think it's going to be Natalya and her crew.
I agree for pretty much the same reasons, especially because you know, Sasha and Natalia and Bailey, they are all credited to being part of the Evolution Revolution.
Yeah,
It'd be stupid to not have them win. It'd just be stupid.
it would be.
I don't care about storylines. Like oftentimes, you know, you're like it doesn't matter if they lose as long as it promotes the storylines. There's no storyline to progress here.
Nope.
There's nothing to go forward. It's Evolution. We are celebrating the women who have made this possible. You have to give the three baby faces here who have been in this company for many years, who bled and sweat in NXT. You have to give them at least a win if you're not going to give them a proper match.
Yeah, this is a victory lap for them, which is fine, but kind of hard to get excited about after we've seen them have this exact same match on Raw for like a year.
Anyway, so we're agreement on this. We're in agreement on this match as well. The third match, hoo boy! Are you ready for this?
Okay. That's a lot of people. A lot of people.
I've been sharpening my claws all day for this one.
I have so many feelings about it.
Well, then
Why
start.
don't you begin?
What?
Oh, you know, who's angrier? We should decide who's angrier.
Let me run it down. Okay. Let me pull it up here. Combatants will include the likes of Asuka, Naomi, who you're proudly wearing her colors.
I'm
today.
wearing a Naomi shirt right
there
now.
You go.
I was very ready to see Naomi in this thing.
There you go. Former women's champions Carmella, Nia Jax, former NXT champion Ember Moon, Dana Brooke, Lana, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce of the Iconics. But Billie Kay and Peyton Royce of the Iconics. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Tamina, and Tori Wilson. Then Michelle McCool, Alundra Blaze and Ivory, which I'm fine with.
Alundra Blaze fucking rules.
Yes.
Just to make that clear.
Yes, let's underscore that. Molly Holly, former Divas champion Kelly, and Diva of the Year Slammy Award winner Maria Kanellis. And as much as I love Maria Kanellis, she is not ready to get back in the ring.
No.
But and Zelina Vega, who is
I do love Zelina Vega,
and who is the final entrant in the Battle Royal. Man, does this feel like this feels like the recycle bin?
Yeah, I am so upset about this match. Like,
lay into it, Harmony.
Okay, so like you're gonna bring Alundra Blaze back into competition, and instead of like playing with the very interesting history she has with WWE and what happened with the belt when she had it, throwing it away, like, or the amazing rivalry she had with Bull Nakano, like, there are so many cool things you could do with Alundra Blaze, and instead you're just going to stick her into a giant battle royale where it doesn't fucking matter if she wins because everybody who has a brain in their head knows she's not going to get a championship opportunity. Alundra Blaze is not coming to SmackDown. That's not happening.
This is what makes no sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
The winner gets a title shot of their choice, probably, but you have goddamn Kelly in the match. You have who else do you have? You have the old divas. I mean, no disrespect to Ivory, but they're not going to keep her around. I don't want Michelle McCool to win either, or Tori Wilson. The stakes to the Battle Royal, I get it. You need stakes for a Battle Royal, otherwise it's just people tossing each other around and it's stupid.
But these stakes don't make any sense.
No, they don't. They just don't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Am I supposed to believe that they're going to take the belt off of Ronda Rousey and put it on Kelly Kelly? Am I supposed to be worried about that, WWE?
Let's push this forward. Should I be worried that we'd see Ronda Rousey versus Kelly Kelly?
Okay, I actually do want to see that. But
what are you, some kind of masochist? Do you not like yourself?
I like myself. I would be very curious about the mechanics of the match. But I also think Kelly Kelly might die, so it's a bad call. I don't understand why they're bringing back all these legacy talents and sticking them in a battle royale that doesn't matter. Also, Naomi has a title shot. She
That's the
won
thing.
one at WrestleMania.
Hmm.
Why can't she just use that?
There you go.
Why does she need two? I don't, if she gets two, does she actually get to have the match? Does she have to like stack them up like Lucha Underground and get like seven of them and then she gets to go? Like, what's the deal?
They, I understand. Like, let's be frank. Uh, the This is the best place where you can toss in your legacy players here, because just like we saw in the Royal Rumble earlier this year, you have Tori Wilson come in. Everyone's like, wow, she still looks fantastic. Look at her go. She does just a couple of things. She gets kicked out. She looks good. She doesn't have to carry a match, right? And this
Right.
is the case for a few of them. Same thing with Kelly Kelly, although Kelly Kelly still managed to look bad in the 10 seconds she was in the Royal Rumble. But that's another story. The point is I understand putting all your legacy players in here. What just doesn't make sense is the stakes. We
I think
know it's not going to be one of the old timers. It's not going to be a legend. It's not going to be a Hall of Famer. It's not going to be Kelly Kelly who's going to win.
right.
That's what
And
is mind-boggling to me.
and the thing about the stakes not mattering is it lowers the prestige of winning the battle royale.
Mm-hmm.
If they were stakes you actually cared about, you'd be excited to see who won. But if it's just like, here's this thing nobody gives a fuck about, here's 30 people, we couldn't think of anything to do with them, we have 20 minutes to fill, good luck. It's like, all right, so this is just an exhibition match? Fine. Like,
And
why?
let's talk about people who are not invited in this battle royal. Like for instance, Victoria, right, who is often set aside when we're talking about the women's evolution and things that have happened in WWE. She's still wrestling today.
Yeah.
She still goes. I had someone in my head and it just popped out. I had Victoria and I had Jacqueline, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to bring back Molly Holly, and no disrespect to Molly Holly, by the way, I had the severest crush on her back in her back then in the
Yeah.
late 90s, early 2000s. I had a
She's
crazy
super
crush
cute,
on
no
her.
shade.
Um,
She's super cute.
but so the point is that there's all sorts of women that they haven't invited back and who have impacted WWE's women's wrestling much more than Kelly Kelly and Michelle McCool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do wonder if there were people who didn't want to come back, though. I mean, Gail Kim said she just turned it flat down.
That's fine, and I understand that. But Victoria, there's a rumor going around that recently she went to a show and she was refused access backstage. Now, is it because she wrestled in TNA for a while? Impact? I don't know, but at some point you sort of have to have a legitimate look back at the people who did build it. Victoria was doing fantastic work, fantastic character work, still at a time where women were still very much eye candy.
Yeah. The WWE they don't have a high regard for the history that actually happened, but they have a very high regard for the history that they believe happened. And
Right.
I think that's kind of what we're running into here.
It's kind of frustrating.
It's really frustrating.
And
It
then
totally sucks.
And then the final thing that I feel like we should discuss is, again, kind of how I feel about the 6 women tag match that we just talked about previously. I'm befuddled that all they could find for Asuka was to toss her in here. What do you think?
Right? I I am very confused and pretty pissed off at this point that Asuka does not have an arc in WWE. Her NXT reign was phenomenal. Even the storyline where she went from Raw to SmackDown to challenge Charlotte, like I thought Asuka and Charlotte should have main evented WrestleMania instead of that stupid, awful meat slap main event we got. Like I didn't enjoy that. Like really good build, and Asuka handled it like a pro. Yeah, I mean, she's like a veteran of wrestling, like Joshi wrestling, WWE. She's done everything. She's done it all. She can do intergender. She is so talented and she's so skilled. And even like Her character work is amazing. If they would just trust her, if they would just give her a storyline and let her run with it, it would it would be compelling. It would probably be one of the best women's storylines we ever saw. But instead it's like she went to SmackDown and they're like, I guess you're friends with Naomi now? Good luck. Like,
Yes, let's pair an odd couple. Let's use the language thing. That's so funny. What are you saying? Teriyaki? Ha 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 ha.
I am not enjoying the racist promos
No,
either.
no, no. So who wins this cluster?
Oh, I mean, none of us win because we have to watch it. Um, so I think thinking about who's going to be there, we're just going to take the legacy players out. They're not going to win. Um, I think Ember Moon is due for a push. I think Ember's due for a real push. She is fantastic. She's done a lot of different things for Raw since she's been called up. She's done them all well. I mean, she even tagged in as Braun's partner for the Mixed Match Challenge and has been awesome on that.
Mhm.
She's a great worker. She's safe. Also, winning this is not going to be a big enough deal that like it's going to it's a mid-card victory for a strong mid-card player, and that's who Ember Moon is right now.
I agree.
Also, I fucking love Ember Moon, and I want her to get a push. So just like putting it out there because the secret's real, I want her to win.
And besides, she's a shining star on the Raw roster. She's outshining most of the women right now. I agree with you. I think you have a good pick, but I will disagree. We will disagree on the pick here.
All right, who's your pick?
Because I believe, I believe it's going to be Naomi.
Naomi.
I think Naomi is going to be fed to Becky after this. I just gave a prediction away. Spoiler for later on. But yeah, I think she's being fed to the SmackDown Women's Champion after this as a transitional as a transitional feud so that the champ can get another good win in because, well, I'll explain later.
I mean, that does fit how they're booking Naomi, so that's legit. But she already has a title, doesn't she? Like, why does she need 2 title shots?
Who?
Naomi. She already has a title shot.
Everyone's forgotten about that. What are you talking about?
I remember
that happened
in
March.
Naomi deserves better.
April.
So
when was WrestleMania? Doesn't matter.
It was a million years ago.
It feels already like it was a million years ago. Damn it.
All right,
just take a minute here to go through a couple of chat things here. People got excited when we started talking about the women. Alundra Blaze, I want Stacy, Ember Moon. Imagine if Ivory won. Jason Campbell says, I'm upset about Michael Cole being at the broadcast table for the event. I don't think he's there anymore. I think they announced the announced team as Beth Phoenix, Renee Young, and someone else.
I thought it was them and Paige, but then I saw on Renee's Twitter. But I saw on Renee's Twitter that Michael Cole would be at the announce table. Okay. So I'm not sure which is true, and I had difficulty figuring it out via Google. So if anybody's got like a firm on that, let me know. Yeah,
just drop it in the chat, y'all. Big Virgil says Ava Marie deserves to be in the match. I disagree wholeheartly, but thank you for your opinion, Big Virgil. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see. We got JPQ who says Asuka with Paul Heyman. I know it's overplayed, but come on, how good would that be?
That would be really good. That's such a good idea.
Let's move on to our next. Yeah, that'd be really good. Let's move on to the next match of the evening. Let's check it out. This is one of the matches I'm excited about. Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. Now, this is the part where we stop complaining, Harmony.
Yes. Hooray!
Hooray!
Sure, everybody's happy about that.
Rematch of the Mae Young Classic 2017 finals. Rematch of the last takeover. These two work fantastic together. I think they've only grown in the past year, especially Shayna Baszler, who has become extraordinary over the past year since losing the Mae Young Classic. She truly has become a cornerstone of the women's division in NXT. What are your thoughts about this match that I'm looking forward to?
So I'm also really looking forward to this match, and I want to like echo your call outs of praise for Shayna. I think some people don't realize that Shayna actually, people talk about her MMA background a lot, but she did professional wrestling before she came to NXT as well. Like she was the AIW champ, she wrestled for a couple other promotions. Shayna really cares about professional wrestling. When you hear her in interviews, she talks about how it's a different art form, but it's the same audience, and she's excited to participate in it. And you can see she has worked her ass off since she got that NXT belt to learn the WWE style, nail her promos, get it all down. Like, she is a good wrestler. She's compelling, and she brings something so fresh and so new to the women's division. Like, I love that she's kept her look. Like, she is this badass butch bitch that is here to win belts. That is Shayna Baszler. And I fucking love that. I am so into it. And having her go up against Kairi Sane, who, like, on first glance is this adorable pirate princess, but then you see her in the ring and it's like, oh, she can go. Like, yeah. She is here to kick some ass. Like, the contrast between their characters and the way that story has been built, which I think you have to give a lot of credit to both of them for. They've put in really good work there. Like,
they have.
I just love it so much.
I think that one of the reasons people are Shayna has a lot of distractors is because she has her a very unique style within women's wrestling in WWE that we're not used to seeing out of the women. She's a grappler. She's strength based. She doesn't jump. She doesn't flip. She doesn't hit the top turnbuckle. She's a mat wrestler, and that what makes her doubly refreshing and much more threatening at the same time because no one wrestles like her. So you always have this basic psychology when you get into these matches where her opponent is like, what do I have to do to beat this woman? It's like, and this is the part where I do a bit, but she's grown so much. She was a fantastic heel. She was the woman to take the belt off of Ember Moon.
Absolutely.
And Kairi has become fantastic as well. Like she's grown, she's grown even more, if that's even possible. And I think she's adopted WWE's style as well. I think it's hard to pin that down. I think they're going to have a barn burner of a match.
Plus, yeah.
I really do believe that they're going to give them the time to shine. But here, I'm gonna push my predict. Well, who do you think is going to win?
Oh, okay. So I think there are a couple ways it could go. I think that Shayna is not going to be on NXT for too much longer. I think they're going to start building up that 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen feud, which is going to mean that the 4 horsewomen are going to need to be taken out of NXT and up to the main roster relatively quickly. And I think because of that, they might be hesitant to put a belt on Shayna. Not that Shayna's not a great champ. I just think they have bigger plans for her. I think we're going to see her on the main roster sooner rather than later. I also think that given the way Kairi has been booked on NXT over the last year, which has been fairly inconsistent, she needs a real push in order to have a place on NXT. She needs to be a fighting champ, and she needs to be the champ to beat. So if they're serious about developing Kairi, I think she keeps the belt.
So you're saying that Shiri retains.
That's what I think. That was my long-winded way of saying that, yes.
Okay. I have a tendency to agree as well, but for different reasons.
Okay.
I just said that Shayna Baszler is a cornerstone of the women's division in NXT. I am of the opinion that the women's division right now is going under massive reconstruction in NXT, and it is not time for them to start bleeding their top females.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, no, Kairi is going to retain, but she's going to retain because Shayna is going to mess up. She's going to come in to prove a point, and she's going to be joined by her 2 friends, Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, and they are going to form the equivalent of Undisputed Era, but for the ladies.
Oh my God, I hope you're right. That'd be so good.
This is now, it's my far out call. It's my prediction, but right now, the women's division in NXT is lacking in some severely, really intense heels. Bianca Belair's fine. I don't think that Lacey Evans, as much as I like her, I don't think she's quite as over as they'd like her to be. But imagine if after the match, let's say Kyrie, and let's not forget this is a rubber match that they're going to have, right? Because they each have a win over each other.
Right?
No, wait, no. Kyrie has 2 wins.
Yeah, but Shayna's beaten Kyrie once.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But imagine if after the match you have Duke and Shafir run in and they pound the shit out of Kyrie. And this is perfect because like if we continue down the avenue that Evolution is just a big marketing thing, well then you have all your UFC women come out. We just saw Shafir and Duke during the brawl that Charlotte and Becky had. They were there along with Baszler.
Oh,
And I don't know if
yeah.
you noticed, while everyone was trying to pull them apart, I saw Jessamine Duke in the back with her arms crossed, big fucking smirk on her face, go, yeah, you just kicked the shit out of each other. I think it was probably very unintentional, but I really think that they're on the verge of pulling the trigger, and it doesn't make sense for them to pull the trigger on Maine and associate with Ronda Rousey because Ronda's a babyface. The horsewomen can't. Shayna Baszler can't be a babyface. Not yet, but she can't be a babyface right now. She's too good. So I think Kyrie retains, but there will be some kind of shenanigan, either like a DQ maybe, or maybe she'll win clean and then Shayna and the girls will come in and destroy her. But I really feel that this is the moment for NXT to get their first stable of badass women, Undisputed Era, but chicks.
I mean, you had me at Undisputed Era, but chicks. Like, I am on board. Also, I want nothing more than to see Shayna Baszler beat the fuck out of Adam Cole now. So like, maybe we can make that happen.
Maybe we can get that. We can only hope. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, I like your idea better.
Having Shayna Baszler beat up Adam Cole is a spectacular idea. So there you go. Let's move on to our next match. That was match number 4, right? This is number 5. All right, so the tag team match, the Legends, Trish Stratus and Lita versus Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. But lo and behold, Harmony, just a few seconds ago, I went to check on WWE.com because there were rumors that Alexa was out and injured, and that her state was the status of her match at Evolution was questionable. And it's confirmed. Trish Stratus and Lita versus Mickie James and Alicia Fox. It's confirmed.
Oh, yeah, we just checked that this afternoon. Man, that was a quick shift.
But I checked, I checked like 30 seconds ago before I started my spiel about Shayna Baszler.
Okay. Well, good to know.
So, Trish and Lita are winning. Let's move on.
Yeah, there's not much else to say about this match.
There's nothing to say about this match. There was barely something to say about the match regardless, other than the fact that I think it's banana cuckoo crazy that Trish and Lita are legends of the era and are on that side. You know, they're booked on that side, where you have fucking Mickie James.
Yeah.
They're in the match as well, but on the current side.
I don't understand why they didn't just do a fatal three-way between Mickie James and Lita and Trish.
Wouldn't that have been fantastic?
Yeah, and also the history is there. They've all had rivalries at various points. They have fantastic ring chemistry. It would be so fun to watch and be like, oh, are Lita and Trish going to stay friends? Or are they going to betray each other? Like, what's Mickie James going to pull? Like, that storyline is fun. But just like, Lita and Trish are friends now, and they're going to fight these other people. Like, which makes me sad because I fucking love Lita. I was very much looking forward to seeing her. So
you can tell that this match was marred with problems because, of course, at first it was supposed to be Trish and Alexa, but Alexa got injured, so then they weren't sure about her status. So then they converted it into a tag team match. So they converted it into a tag team match, and then that was it, you know. Now we have this here.
It's very weird to me that Mickey James
I'll
is
let you
not being
talk. I just
given.
have to pop away
Oh,
from stream for a second. But go ahead, do your
I'm
commentary.
sorry. Um, I guess I just think it's weird that Mickey James is not having a one-on-one match at Evolution because she's the only one of those wrestlers who are currently active and on the roster. So I feel like it would make sense to give her more to do. I don't really understand why she needs a partner. I also think that Trish and Lita don't really need partners for this match. It kind of feels like they're just trying to use up some time. So I'm excited about the wrestlers. I'm not excited about the match. I don't know what to say. I hope Warren comes back soon.
And I
There we
agree
are.
with everything you said.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just had that was weird, but I just had a little something to tweak just to make sure
No
that the
worries.
stream stayed up and alive. Sorry about that, but I'm sure everything you said was very insightful and remarkable.
I'm really smart and cool, so good call.
Good call. Who's winning? Did we say who was winning? The
Uh,
Legends, right?
I don't think we said who's winning, but I think we all know that Lita and Trish are winning.
There's
So
no
we'll
other
just,
possible outcome.
this is another victory lap match, and that's fine.
That's fine. Absolutely. Absolutely. But there's not much more to say about this match as opposed to this one.
Yes.
Whoop, whoop.
It's, come back.
Becky
Come back,
Lynch,
Becky.
SmackDown Women's Champion versus Charlotte Flair in a last women's standing match. Who? Hang on, I gotta. That's my. Just thinking about it, it's giving me the sweats.
I know, right? Like,
Um,
I,
arguably, the arguably the best thing going in WWE overall.
yeah.
Not only just in the women's division. I don't think there's anything that's been more compelling, more investing personally for fans than this. I don't know what you think. I mean,
I I am very excited about this match. That, like I said earlier, this is the one storyline that WWE is doing right for the women right now. And like you said earlier, where people are just waiting for a chance to cheer Bailey, it's been that way for Becky for years. Like that's actually kind of the funniest aspect of this. Like WWE picked their champ, they picked Charlotte, and they were like, well, Becky can kind of act, she'll be the heel for this. And they just didn't understand how much we were all waiting for Becky to get a plot line and get cool stuff to do,
mm-hmm.
and how hard Becky was gonna like knock it out of the park. Like this plot line is so good, and also like I'm one of the few people in the world who love face Charlotte. Like I know most people love I know most people love her as a heel, and I get it. She's a great heel.
Okay.
I've enjoyed the ongoing story of Charlotte becoming a champ and learning how hard it is to be a champ. I like that she's kind of world weary now. I I think her promos need work, but I think it's a cool arc, and I think it's also put in her position where we can have her go up against people like Becky Lynch. Like face versus face, this plot line would have been fun and compelling, but face versus like downright evil Becky Lynch, that's fun. That's something to watch.
And
So
it's incredible how she's embraced the role and how god tier she is with it. And I think we can swing that expression around in this case. She has been so good with it from top to bottom, on social media, in her promos, everywhere. She's living it. And everyone, like you said, we were just give us a reason to cheer for the lady WWE, and we're going to do it. And even if WWE doesn't want us to cheer for her, fuck you. We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Tough shit. We're like, and that's one of the reasons the plotline works so well, because like it plays off of real history in a way that WWE doesn't do with their plotlines for other women. Like Becky was grinding in the indies when Charlotte was playing volleyball. That is true.
That is true.
Like Charlotte did get her job because she's Ric Flair's daughter. Like that's true. Like that's one of the reasons I kind of like her as a face. It's interesting to see her have to actually work hard to keep the belt. Like I think that's a cool plot line. Like it feels real in a way that the other women's plot lines don't, and they have the exact right people in those roles, and that's why I love it. Also, they're just like they have great ring chemistry. I fucking love watching them fight.
Absolutely. Everyone who's in the chat right now, drop in the chat. Who do you think is going to win? We're going to keep talking about this a little more, but let us know who you think between Becky and Charlotte is going to come out on top here. I think it's fascinating. Like at some point, you remember when Becky did her heel turn and she did, cut her promo, and she did the "You People" promo.
Yeah.
Remember that, which is terrible. Like the pinnacle of I'm a heel now. You people were never behind me. Everything. You remember how everyone just rejected that and people were just cheering with her?
Everybody was just like, "Yeah, we suck, Becky. You're right.
You're absolutely right. We're awful people, Becky." And then we move on forward, and WWE kept trying for us to dislike her. And then at some point it sort of became ambivalent. Are we supposed to hate her because she's not doing the "you people" thing anymore? She's just saying she's just being she's being a bitch, but I mean justifiably so. That's the thing, is that she's relatable in what she's feeling, so that's why we're behind it. But then again, like at the Performance Center brawl that they had, Becky comes in and she tells the recruits there, none of you are gonna make it. I'm the champ, and you're like, and I'm like, come on, WWE, stop trying to make me boo her. Now it just looks desperate on your part. First, it was ham-fisted, but I saw through what you were doing. Now it's just sad. Just let her roll and I know it's come up a lot, and the comparisons have come up a lot, but man, just let her roll as a Stone Cold Steve Austin type character.
Yeah. I want a female Stone Cold Steve Austin type character. That would be really fun and cool if they would commit to it long term. Like, again, that element of anarchy has not really existed in the women's division up to this point. Like, not in a really committed way like Becky can bring. So, like, yeah, let her do it. She's super good at it. It's super fun to watch. And it gives Charlotte an actual compelling match instead of, like, the sort of flailing title defenses she's had since WrestleMania. This is the first title defense for Charlotte Flair that I've cared about in, like, a year. So,
for sure.
Keep doing it. It's going right.
It's going well. I think this is going to be their blow off. I think the feud ends here. And go ahead.
You think Charlotte's getting the belt back?
Nope. I think Becky retains.
Okay. Our predictions.
But I think the feud ends here. And
so they're going to make peace.
No. But this is the end. This is the last match. Charlotte goes off to fight Peyton Royce. Which would be fine, because Peyton could use the elevation. It's just my point. You have your two big lady top women superstars. Pull them aside and let them build new stars. Let them build up some people. And this goes into my earlier prediction about the tag team championship, where I was saying, the Battle Royal, where I was saying that Naomi was going to win, because I feel like Naomi would be a perfect next feud for Becky. I think it'd be great. I think it's a feud that Becky can win and would just give us a little bit more to build before we get Becky versus Asuka, which is the next thing we need. That's my vision of it.
Yeah, I think that booking makes sense.
What do you think? Who do you think is going to win?
I mean, I think I agree with you. Like, I almost thought that Charlotte might get the belt just because Evolution is like the celebration of WWE's Evolution, and Charlotte Flair is like the female face of the company at this point. So like they want to give her the push. At the same time, they've maneuvered so hard to get Becky into this position, and she's been so successful. Letting her stay the heel champ for a while and letting other superstars build themselves up by going against her, I think you're right. Like, that's the way to go. The only reason I hesitate when it comes to Charlotte is WWE does not always make decisions that make sense.
No,
and they love Charlotte Flair.
They do. The other thing that's pushing me in the sense of Becky, and you mentioned it, or at least you made me think of it. We agree that Sasha, Bayley, and Natalya are going to win, baby faces. We agree that it will likely be a babyface who's going to win the Battle Royal, right? So that's another babyface win. The Legends are going to win the tag team match. That's another win there. That's 3 matches out of your 7. I think Kyrie's going to win, but that's more up for discussion. But I think Kyrie's going to win, and Tony Storm and Io Shirai, well, they're both baby faces, so you can't have a card with all the baby faces winning. It just does. You'll have enough feel good moments, throughout the card to say, well, we don't need Charlotte picking up the belt here. You know
That's
what
true.
I mean? And especially since I think that the results of the Raw Women's Championship match are going to affect the conclusion of this one as well. Let's talk about it. It's the last one we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
wait.
match.
Yeah, and Ronda Rousey and the Nikki Bella. And
Yeah.
just before we jump in, I just want to go back to chat because I did ask everyone to jump in and say who they thought was going to win. Becky over Charlotte or Charlotte over Becky. We have Tim who says Becky's going to win. Joe Soriano, who's graced us with his dulcet presence. Joe says Becky for sure. Got to roll with her as champ because this is a special run, and I agree. She's working really hard, and I'm pretty sure they recognize it backstage, and they're gonna keep it on her. Jason goes with Charlotte. Bailey Donovan feels like they're going to give it to Charlotte for a kind of feel-good Ric Flair's daughter moment. Tim says Charlotte. No, Tim already said that Becky goes over Charlotte. You can't change your mind at this point. So a bit of a split audience. Seems to be edging more towards Becky, but nonetheless. Anyway, let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship. I don't think that I've cared for me. And I'm just going to lead into this, and then I'll let you talk.
Okay.
This is levels of Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar levels of disinterest for me. There you go.
So I actually go a level above you. For me, this match is a great encapsulation of why WWE is very, very bad at writing female characters. And they need to stop trying until they regroup and figure out how to do it correctly. The buildup for this match has been atrocious. Mm-hmm. Like, the slut-shaming Nikki Bella plotline has been awful. It's been clunky. It's been gross to the point where, like, Nikki Bella herself has called it out and been like, hey, that seems like an artifact from an old era. Stop bringing up John Cena when you talk about me. I'm a wrestler. Talk about my wrestling. Like, it's gross and it's really backwards. And it also, like, I want to acknowledge off the bat that I feel like it's impossible to have a neutral conversation about Nikki Bella because whenever you bring her up, half of the internet wants to just murder her. And then, like, people like me feel like we have to defend her. And I don't, like, really have, like, I don't have a stake in the Bella twins. They're fine. I feel like Nikki's a competent wrestler who, I don't feel like we talk enough about the fact that WWE for a long time didn't set their women up to be successful. I don't think that Nikki and Brie are the most talented wrestlers in the world. I also don't think it's their fault. Like, there was an interview with Trish Stratus recently where she talked about, wow, the women's division is so much different now. The training's better. It's more intense. The matches are more regularly scheduled. They get more support. And it's like, Nikki and Brie were in this weird transitional era when they were not being taken seriously. They weren't being given the best training. And you have them going up against people like Ronda Rousey or people like Natalya who grinded in the indies for 10 years before they landed at WWE. Like, of course they're at a talent advantage. Of course they aren't as good. They haven't had that experience. So I get very frustrated when I watch WWE try to build up our excitement about a Nikki Bella match by having Ronda Rousey call her a slut in front of a bunch of hooting fans. That is like the absolute encapsulation of the worst things about watching women's wrestling in WWE. I'm very, very unhappy that it's a part of Evolution. And honestly, it's a big part of why I decided not to go. Because I was like, if that's your main event, if that's what you want me to go cheer for, fuck that. I'm not spending $1,000 to be there. So that's my little soapbox spiel. I'm unhappy. WWE, these women are working hard for you. Set them up for success. Treat them respectfully. You'll get good wrestling out of them. If you treat them like crap and you write these ridiculous backwards promos, you're going to get crap out of them. It's on you guys. It's not on Nikki Bella.
Well, those are some extremely salient points, and I'm in agreement with them. What I felt when Ronda cut her that promo couple of weeks ago, I was very torn because, I saw the reaction online, saw people people reacting very negatively towards it, pointing out exactly what you pointed out, which is justified. But at the same time, that was the best promo she cut in WWE to that point. And you could tell that a lot of people were not buying the, oh, such a huge betrayal thing, because it wasn't. It's stupid and contrived, because
Right?
the Bellas and Ronda Rousey never had any kind of relationship until you guys decided to ham-fist this into us. So you could tell that this was a bit of a desperate move to add some quick heat, some quick stakes, some quick intensity into a feud that a lot of the audience just wasn't buying into, and with reason. But again, like you said, this is not on the women. It's how it was booked.
Yeah.
And
Also,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. Well, I feel like WWE has a tendency to go for kind of those nuclear option promos when they're trying to build heat against women in a way that comes off as gross, when there are other ways they could do it. I mean, it was kind of the same thing with the Nia Jax, like, body shaming thing with Alexa Bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was another storyline there ready to go where Alexa was like treating her friend like shit and disrespecting her and not taking her seriously as a wrestler. And then Nia comes to prove that she is a good wrestler and she wins the belt. That doesn't have anything to do with them as women. It's an actual storyline for wrestlers. Like, you could do the same thing with Ronda and the Bella Twins. The Bella Twins could be like, hey, guess what? We're getting back in the ring and we rode your ass in to get ourselves some more popularity. We don't need you anymore, so suck it. And we're going to get that belt off you now. Like, that's a plot line for wrestlers. It's not a plot line that makes fun of women. And
No,
that would
exactly.
still be a really fun promo if they did it right.
And
But it seems like,
go ahead.
sorry, it just seems like WWE doesn't trust women to carry actual stories.
But yes, yeah, and it's, to me, like, it's not that hard writing for women's wrestlers, because you just have to write storylines for guys and then put the girls in their place, and that's it. You know what I mean? They don't need some extra special veneer of pink and blue lace or something. It's just like, go for it. Just let the guys do it, because these types of, oh my God, he didn't say that, feuds, they happen. The promos, I should say, they've happened. Like Roman Reigns got demolished by John Cena earlier this year. Let's not forget that. Right. But the nuance here, and the point, and this is the point where I agree with you, is that, at no point did John question Roman's sexuality, or did Roman bring up the fact that he's banging a Bella Twin or whatever. It didn't have to come to that. It was just like truths about his in-ring work, his capacity to draw a crowd, his things that are very, very concrete and legitimate. Whereas on the other side, with the women, you sort of have to bring this, like cliche women things that that women are supposed to get catty about. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I mean, you're right. It is a cliche, and it's also like, you're right. They're wrestlers. They're there for a belt. They're there for money. They're there for fame. They have 1,000 different motivations that have nothing to do with who they're sleeping with. So,
absolutely not.
In a wrestling ring, that might be more interesting to talk about,
This is a weird match. And it's a weird match because I don't buy into anything. I didn't buy into the buildup, didn't buy into the feud, definitely didn't buy into the betrayal, despite the fact WWE's social media put it in one of the top 5 betrayals of all time.
Of all time?
Yeah.
Like ever?
Yeah. You hadn't seen this? They actually did a list, similar to their top 10 the top 10 best stables of all time. You know, where they put the Shield on in number one instead of the NWO or Degeneration X, or they did a top 5 betrayals. You know, and you had like the list. I can't quite remember the list, but you know they had like Kevin Owens turning on Chris Jericho. You know, and Nikki Bella and Ronda Rousey was like number 2. Like,
That was better than the Festival of Friendship, for real.
yeah, that's how they position it. Where was I going with this?
Okay.
No, but okay, yeah. So so despite the betrayal that I didn't buy into, I don't buy the match because
Yeah.
because because it's Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella cannot. It's not a legitimate contender to Ronda Rousey. Alexa Bliss wasn't perceived as legitimate either. They had booked her that way as well. So that worked to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But here, you just look at this pairing, there's like, nah, there is no way that Ronda Rousey is going to lose this. And it kind of bugs me that she'll have to sell some of Nikki Bella's offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No disrespect, but it doesn't make sense that a woman who was in UFC would knock other women out on their asses in seconds will have a competitive match against Nikki fucking Bella.
Yeah, it's I feel like neither of them are being put in a very enviable position.
No, that's for sure.
Like, yeah, because Rhonda's got to sell what Nikki's doing. And we've seen Rhonda's work over the past couple of months, and with really talented wrestlers like Natalia, Rhonda can put in a good match.
I don't know why they haven't pulled the trigger on that yet, because that would have
Rhonda
been a
versus
proper.
Natalia would be great.
That would have been a proper betrayal too. That would have been a proper betrayal because Natalia has been by Ronda's side from the get-go.
Right.
So
and
that
again,
would have been a proper betrayal. That's what I was expecting, the Natalia heel turn, and it would have been a great match because Natalia would have known how to play to Ronda's strengths and, you know, sort of push away some of her non-strengths, you know, not make them those as glaring. You kind of like Ric Flair. When you get into the ring with Ric Flair would make you shine, would make all your strengths shine, and was good enough to camouflage all your low points. That's what I was expecting.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you look at the way that Ronda and Nikki have been booked, like they're both typically booked with wrestlers who make them look good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Bella Twins versus the Riot Squad. Ruby Riot makes anyone she wrestles look like $1,000,000 fucking bucks because she's that good.
Mm-hmm.
But we have two wrestlers who really need solid opponents to put in a good match, and they're going up against each other as a main event at this historic pay-per-view. It just kind of feels like they're both screwed. Like there's no, unless there's a miracle, this is not going to be a great showing for either of them, and it's kind of like a bummer.
I'm afraid it's going to be a lot of smoke and mirrors this match. I think I don't think it's going to be all that much action. It's going to be like let's try and do stuff, have things happen around the rings to distract, and then move into a finish kind of thing. I'm not convinced on it. Who do you think is coming out of this one victorious, Harmony?
I think it's Rousey. I don't think they're going to take the belt off Ronda. And I also think because the Bella Twins are coming into this as heels, it's not them. It's not going to be them. I'm hoping for some kind of halfway interesting interference finish. That's my hope.
I'm completely with you. It doesn't make sense. I think Ronda retains as well. But we'll be damned if we haven't learned by now that WWE sometimes just books the weirdest shit.
Yeah,
so I'm ready. My body is ready for a Nikki Bella win. You know what I mean? I'm prepped.
I totally. They might just be like, Nikki Bella, everybody loves Nikki Bella because she wrestled in the past. Here you go, Nikki Bella. Like, that is totally a plausible decision for WWE to make.
But I don't think so. I think Ronda retains because that's one of the reasons they put her in the main event. It's to get the, you know, to get that sweet, sweet, delicious mainstream media goodness. I don't think it'd make sense for her to lose in that capacity. Plus, I think
Yeah.
she's holding on to the belt till WrestleMania. That's my thought. Chat jumps in here. Jason says, I'd rather see the Bellas against each other again, but we all know how that turned out last. But we all know how that turned out. That didn't even last. That's true. Bailey Donovan says, I really don't hope this happens, but I feel we're going to see some twin magic. I guess she means she doesn't hope that Nikki Bella wins, but I still think Ronda will retain. I think so too. Harmony,
Yeah.
I think we're half and half excited. I think there's some really great matches. We have Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. We have the Mae Young Classic Finals. We have Becky and Charlotte, which has the 3 matches, honestly, that have the potential to be show stealers. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Those are going to be great.
So,
And even the ones like Trish and Lita is going to be a lot of fun. There are going to be a lot of stakes, but it'll be fun to see them in action.
if it's booked properly, and this is how I'm going to leave it, at least on my end. We have very low expectations towards this pay-per-view. We're disappointed in the way WWE has booked it. The matches aren't what we wanted. We're not getting Sasha versus Bayley. We're not getting Bayley versus Asuka. We're not, we're getting a hodgepodge of stuff. I think the women know this. I think they feel this. And if there's any real, like, justice, I guess, all of them will go out and give 110% and shut us all the fuck up. And so that we're all there on Monday morning going, why did we even doubt any of this? Why did we put any of this in doubt? And maybe even Ronda and Nikki will be booked in a way kind of similar to what they did at WrestleMania, when they had Ronda and Kurt Angle versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, and everyone was going, this is going to be terrible. Triple H and Angle are going to carry the weight. But no, that wasn't the case. And it was the most entertaining match on the WrestleMania card, in my opinion, of course. Maybe not the best match, but the most entertaining one. It was a lot of fun. So if they book it in that, in that way, maybe it'll just turn out to be something special. And maybe from top to bottom, this card is just going to wow us and it might just restore our faith in the women, where in a situation where we feel that WWE doesn't give them the respect or the time of day that they deserve, maybe they'll just take things into their own hands.
I think you're right. I mean, the thing that gives me hope, and I also want to end on a positive note, I've never lost faith in the women of WWE. Every time they are given the opportunity to shine, they nail it. The Women's Royal Rumble was one of the most entertaining Royal Rumble matches I have ever seen in my life. And there was also speculation before that, like, oh, it's going to be a mess. Oh, it's never happened before. And it was fucking awesome. Every time they give the women one of these historic chances, and, we talk about how it's cheesy and it's a marketing ploy and all that stuff, like, and, whatever, WWE, they're capitalists. They exist to make money. It's like getting mad at McDonald's for trying to sell hamburgers. It's what they do. Putting all that aside, it's an enormously talented roster of very passionate people. And when they get the chance, when WWE puts faith in them, they put in incredible work. So I think what I hope we see is amazing work at Evolution. And I hope it leads to WWE trusting their women's talent more and giving them more to do, giving them storylines. Let Evolution be the start of an actual evolution for WWE. And then we'll be talking about something really exciting.
I agree. We still have to maintain some hope because their women are too talented. I agree. And
we have Mia Yim now, so.
And I mean,
we gotta get
the one thing that's important to keep in mind here is that maybe the booking is shitty. Maybe you're not getting the cards that the matches that you want, but it's not on the women.
It isn't.
It's not on the women. The women are still
That's the thing.
fantastic. They're still great. They're still talented. And I'm convinced. Let's not forget, we're getting a full-blown pay-per-view, but there's only 7 matches on it. We're used to getting more on pay-per-view matches, so hopefully they'll have the time to develop and make some extraordinary things. Harmony.
I hope so.
Harmony, I'm so glad that we did this. I'm glad you joined me. I think you were perfect for this discussion, as
Thank you.
opposed to getting another, like a bearded dude from England to come in here and do it, which wouldn't make much sense. No, I'm really glad you came in, and super interesting insights. I'm really glad that that you took the time to do this. Why don't you share with the good folks watching us right now where the hell they can find you on social media?
Sure.
Or anywhere, for that matter.
Okay. And I thank you very much for having me. This was super fun. I will wear a beard next time if you need me to. I can hook that up, no problem. So I'm on Twitter on Harmonopoly, and all of my social media and various stuff is pretty easy to find from there. My writing's kind of scattered across the internet, so if you go to harmonycox.com, all my stuff's there. I also have a podcast called Head Over Heels that I do with my friend Meryl Williams, where we talk about the Netflix show Glow. I'm on it as the women's wrestling expert, and she is the television expert, and we kind of use that to talk about women's wrestling and all kinds of different stuff. So it'd be cool if you gave that a listen. I don't know, just follow me on Twitter. I'm on there all the time. Yell at me about wrestling. We'll have fun.
There you go. And she is a lot of fun, and I hope you do follow her. Guys and gals who joined us today, whether live in the chat. I want to thank everyone who came in live. That was cool to see the chat really active. That was a lot of fun. And if you're watching later on, well, hey, drop a comment. Come find us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes or at tinyurl.com, Mr. Warren Hayes, which is the YouTube channel. Share, like, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Guys, thank you so very, very much for tuning in today. And I'll just come over here. Thank you very much for tuning in today. It was a lot of fun. Thanks again, Harmony.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.